Welcome back, guys. As you can see on the table, I am running behind on projects as I'm waiting on parts to come in. Being that it's now springtime, we can actually get outdoors a little bit more with hopefully less rain. We've been dealing with our Nemesis build, so we're still waiting on a few parts with that. I need to do some soldering and some tweaking and before we can get that together. The good news is the transmission is in. We got a new ESC and combo to try out with that. That's an outrunner system. Actually, I picked up a few of those. Very, very, very friendly on the budget. We've got our Capra build that we need to do a transmission swap on, a transmission plate swap on, and gearing swap all together on. So we're going to be doing a build on that. We've got our Poised RC clone that we were building, which the transmission for this has come in, and we're now just waiting on drive shafts for it. I ordered a bunch of drive shafts of various different lengths, all steel. Only one came in. It came in 2 shipments because I'd ordered like 7 drive shafts. One came in, and then the other one got caught in customs for like the last week. So there's about 6 different length drive shafts for this. So we're going to be looking at probably like a 65 to a 165 length, which should be more than enough to deal with that. On top of that, we have our overdrive gears that we need to do the installation on the prize truck. So we're going to be doing that one right now just to try and get the area cleared, because I think I need to buy a whiteboard to keep track of all the stuff that I'm supposed to be doing. I am literally starting to forget. I'll look at my bench and be like, what was this part for? Right. Okay. So that's where we're at right now. So we're going to do overdrive and underdrive, explanation of what that is in this video. So let's get this cleared up and we'll do that. I've been upgrading this truck like crazy, and at 3,000 subscribers, one lucky person's going to win it. It's got tons of brass, it's got a Fusion SE, and an AGFRC 45 kilogram brushless servo. Ooh, mama! So a while ago when I did the upgrade video on this truck, a couple of people in the comment section had asked what over and underdrive gears were. So quick brief explanation on that. Overdrive is essentially when the wheels will spin faster than the rear. And what that does is it allows it to give a better turning radius because the front wheels are pulling it. So as you go around a corner, it'll want to drive the front over more. That also helps a lot on hills. Adding too much can end up dragging the rear tires, which can actually give a negative effect on side hills. And what I mean by side hills is you're driving on the side hill, but what will happen is the rear end will slide out. Do a demonstration here. Your rear end will slide out and it'll drag down, which means you're not going to be able to side hill very well. So it's, you know, there's a fine point between having too much and too little, depending on what you're doing. You don't want to have too much on a trail truck, as it can overheat your motor or your ESC, depending on the weight of your vehicle. It can put a lot of strain on your drivetrain. But typically, you only really have to worry about that over 30%. 30% is kind of like your magical margin for being just enough or almost too much for a trail truck. Probably about 25% is where you'd want to be with a trail truck. So this brand, the HB Toys R1001 specifically, the ring and pinion in this is a spool gear. It's not a locker. So what I mean by that is the lock. Well, the locker is part of the gearing, so it's a spool. This is our aftermarket. Let's make sure I get this. And I'd purchased the locker. As you can see here, it's bolted in. And this is a 33 ring gear. Our other one is a 35. So the larger number will go to the front and the smaller number will go to the back. And this is the underdrive gear. So in underdrive, your rear tires will spin slower. So what's the difference between putting overdrive and underdrive into your vehicle? If you put them both in, well, it just makes more overdrive. The reason why they call it underdrive is because it's a lower gear ratio than the stock setting, right? So your wheels will spin at whatever rate they're spinning at, and if you put in underdrive, they spin slower. Overdrive spins faster. If you put them both into your truck, well, there's no stock in there anymore, so you just say it's overdriven by X amount of percentage. So I'll give you the formula for figuring that out on the screen here, and then you'll get a better understanding of what that is. So that's what we're doing. I'm going to put some tape on the tires when we run the truck, and you can give a general idea of what we're seeing for wheel speed as it goes. In order to make this work, you have to have a Traxxas or similar style drive shaft. The reason for that is because this drive shaft, you can see here, the out shaft is actually part of the drive shaft, so you can't run this style. This is what we're swapping to, and this is all part of one thing. So you do need to buy a separate drive shaft in order for that to work properly. Okay, so in order to get a better gear mesh, the rear axle was fairly decent on the fit, but the front was a bit different. I did have to splice down the ring right there on the inside. I did have to grind that down a fair amount because of how what the difference was on the seating of the bearing. So what was happening is when it was in the axle, you can hear here. So that's the fit right now. And I did check with the TRX4 and it did sound similar. This was actually worse before. On each side, there's a small amount of space between the plastic housing and the bearing. On here, there's a thin shim type thing on both sides. The problem was this side was pushing a little bit too far in, pushing the ring into the gear, the pinion gear, a bit too much. So what was causing a very, very, very rough gear mesh. Now it's a lot less. Little things that you got to do here and there, but that's done now. I'll slap this together and it'll be okie dokie karaoke. So now we got a good gear mesh in there. I'll finish putting the rest of this back together and we will give it a little run. It is raining outside as per normal. West Coast weather, yay. But we'll get this a quick run video on the inside and we'll show with some tape on how things are going. All right, so here we got the truck. I've taken the liberty of having my cat knock the camera. Taking the liberty of marking the wheel so we can take a look at how the wheel speed changes. So you can see that the front one is definitely faster than the rear. And this is exactly what overdrive is. And there we have it. So now we'll go take it for a run and we'll do a little bit of turning angles and climbing and seeing how the truck performs now. Do apologize for my shoddy driving skills as I'm doing it one-handed and this is barely My thumb is barely long enough in order to reach. So here we go. So you can see here our turning radius is going to be greatly increased. That is our turning radius right there. All right, so here's a good side hill test. So you'll see how the truck handles on the side hill and how it starts to slide downwards. So already you can see it starts sliding. I got the wheels turned and the rear end just slowly slides out. So that's the downfall of having overdrive, but you can correct it depending on your drive style. All right, so now let's go down and try it on the track and see how it does. Okay, so with hill climbs, what'll happen, instead of your truck tipping back all the way all the time due to the load going to the rear, what'll happen is the front tires will actually help it grip forward more so than trying to just tip back. Ultimately, it will tip back, but this will give it a less chance to do so. So we got fresh moss growing here and all sorts of green stuff. So this is a 65-degree hill here, just at the top where it's at right now. So at this point, the overdrive's going to try and carry the front over more. There it goes right there. And it's slowly creeping up. Whoa. Trying to be careful here. Don't really want to wreck the prize truck. Almost there. There we go. I'm sorry the neighbor's dog didn't get the memo that we were filming. Let's see what we're caught on the other side here. Oh yeah, there we go. That's why. We're on a ledge. All right, let's see if I can do better with two hands. She's greasy. Still a bit cold out for the G8 compound too. Ta-da, we did it. So we're gonna have a lot better turning, a lot better climbing. No problems getting up all this stuff here. All right, here we go. Gonna climb up this hill here. Crank the wheel over. There we go. Nice and clean. If we didn't have our overdrive, that would not have been possible. All right, we're going to climb up this little hill here. It's a good trail truck crawler hill here. Now the power on this servo actually gives it the ability to pull the weight of the vehicle up by cranking the wheel if we hook a ledge. And hooking a ledge is definitely something that's required when doing this. Very nicely done. Well, there you have it. The overdrive is in, works as expected. When I bought it, it was said that this was a 9% overdrive and 9% underdrive. However, the math proves that that is not 18%. In fact, it is more than that. How that works is we'll put up the numbers right here. And I have a cheat sheet because this is an explanation needs to be done. So you have the rear at 33 and 12. Or sorry, you have the front. You have the front at 33 and 12 and the rear at 35 and 10. So the front is running 2.75 to 1 and the rear is running 3.5 to 1. So then you take the rear, which is 3.5 minus the front, which is 2.75, and then put the under that 3.5 plus 2.75, and then those are both in brackets, and then dividing the bottom by 2. So this will give you 0.75 over 3.125, and that equals 0.24. Or 24%. That's a really long explanation. The other thing I like to do is, if you're good at clocks, you can always watch the wheels. So what you're going to do is you're going to watch to see how many times this one goes around and where this one sits when it finishes, when this one goes. So you start in the same position. And I mean, this is rough, right? So that's literally about 25%, or 24% in this case. So there's a little bit of slop here, so that'll give you some measurement. But that's a lot easier than you know, doing all that math. You can just actually put some tape on the wheel and then kind of figure it out if you know where your quarters are for your pies. So that, and you know, is a little bit easier to do if you're good at that. So there we have it. Truck performs very well. Did run into some difficulties. So with these HB Toys trucks, you do need to change the drive shaft if you put in. Now you can put the Traxxas brand over and under drives in there, and that would work just fine as well. I did have to do a little bit more to the front axle, as either the machining wasn't exact on it. I did have to feather down a little bit there to get the gear to not grind so much. It was the same in a Traxxas axle, so it's definitely going to be the gear that was there. But I did manage to fix it. Truck truck runs fine now, no problems, and she's done. So I'm going to stick a fork in this and I'm going to call this truck done. That is as far as we're going to take the prize truck. It's pretty much got all the brass it needs. It's got the tire it needs. You know, it's got all the drivetrain it needs, and it's been upgraded on its electronics. I still have not found how to change the endpoints on the controller. If you do know how to do that, hit me up, because I've been looking all over the internet and I still have not found it. It says there's a setup button on there. I don't know how that works. I've tried holding it down and turning it on, and holding it and just doing the steering wheel, in any other way that another truck would work. I've done many different radios, but this one, for whatever reason, just doesn't do what I want it to do. I have no idea. So if you do know, hit me up and give me an explanation on how that works, because I'd really like it so that the servo doesn't burn out or break the truck, because it's pretty powerful servo. It's 45 kilogram brushless. So yeah. But that wraps up another episode. So until next time.
Helpful guy.